Raising teenagers is hard. Understatement of the century. This is Mentor Select. Mentor Select. Parenting teens to be successful adults. Mentor Select serves parents who are raising teens. Every week, Derek interviews leading experts that work with teens, educators, counselors, mentors, and authors to give you practical tips, strategies, and resources that you can incorporate immediately to better connect and understand your teen. All while parenting them to be successful adults, focusing on social and emotional development, something that's left out of the classroom, but not in ours. Be sure to subscribe, share, and rate. This is Mentor Select, and this is your host, Derek Phillips.
Welcome to the Mentor Select podcast. Happy holidays. I hope that parents, you've completed all your Christmas shopping and just really looking forward to enjoying time with your family and friends as much as possible per the social distance guidelines. But for today's episode, I'm not interviewing anyone. I'm just going to share with you all 3 tips that will help your teens really adjust to virtual learning and maximize the virtual learning experience. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, a lot of schools have shut back down. So teens have had to adjust to distance learning. It's been almost a year now where schools have been shut down on and off or doing hybrid models. And it's a really big challenge to ask any teenager to just have the self-discipline for virtual learning that's required to really excel at virtual learning. And I know for me, I completed my master's degree program pretty much all virtually while I was in Afghanistan. And it took a lot of discipline. Unfortunately for me, I was in a war zone, so that made it easier to really focus on my school. But for imagine teenagers where they just have so many distractions with social media, missing their friends, and just dealing with so much that comes with just lockdowns and distance learning. I just want to share with you all some tips that hopefully will make that experience as positive as possible and as beneficial to ensure that they're not regressing when it comes to their education. Because I know as parents, we all want our kids to be as well educated as possible and also socially rounded as possible. So the first tip I want to get into is with distance learning, it's important to keep a routine, just like if your teens were going to school at the physical classroom, they have a set schedule Monday through Friday. And that routine really aids in learning and really having that atmosphere that's conducive to learning. So now that distance learning has shifted to the household, as parents, you want to make sure that you really keep your teens on a set schedule as if they were physically in class as much as possible, as feasibly possible. You know, being at home and being in the classroom is 2 different things, but you can stimulate it as much as possible. So make sure, hey, they're getting up at the same time every day, going to sleep at the same time every day, really dedicating, blocking out time every day that they're focusing on their required schoolwork. Now, I know some parents may be thinking, hey, Derek, that's easier said than done. My teens like to stay up all night and wake up late. And yeah, I know that is a huge challenge for parents to keep their teens on a set schedule. But it really is in their best interest. That's why actually when they're going to physical schools that they do have that set schedule, because that is the most conducive platform for students to learn. So parents, do your best to keep them on a set schedule so they can really maximize this distance learning experience. As I previously mentioned, as someone who has extensive experience with distance learning, I know firsthand how much discipline is required to handle all their studies on their own. So just make sure that you're hands-on with them and keep things as close as possible modeled to the actual physical school process and routine. The next tip I have for you is Once you have that set schedule, next you want to make sure that your teens have a dedicated workplace where they know, okay, this is where I'm going to log in and do all of my schoolwork via distance learning. So identify that place in the house, whether it's they have a desk in their room or the kitchen or dining room table. Just want to make that atmosphere as comfortable for them as possible. And then also eliminate as many distractions as you can. You don't necessarily want your teens logging into school doing their work in front of a TV or while multitasking, playing games, or just kind of really want to just remove as many distractions as possible, because it's all about recreating a atmosphere where it's going to be the most conducive for your teens to learn, and being distraction free, having that dedicated workplace, knowing, hey, every morning from 8 to 3 or whatever the schedule you and your team work out, this is where I'm coming to and doing my work. This is when I'm in this area, this is my zone to be focused on my studies minus the distractions. So I think that's really important to have that consistent schedule and also a dedicated workplace to complete all studies. Parents, the third tip I have for you to ensure that you're maximizing this distance learning experience for your teens is, as much as feasibly possible with social distancing and lockdowns, take advantage of real world learning. So be up to date on what subjects your teens are currently studying and identify real world experiences that can help them expound on that topic. For example, if they're studying history, you can take them to museums. If they're studying art, take them, again, museums, or just any opportunity for them to actually get out of the house/classroom and touch and feel what they're actually studying in their books. I just think that is so important because it really brings home the concepts, and there's nothing like just that at firsthand experience, being able to physically see the concepts and topics that they're reading in their books. I just think that goes a long way to aid in their learning and help them grasp those concepts. So there's nothing like that in-person learning. As parents, like I said, as much as you can, schedule your own field trips for your teens. I think they'll really appreciate getting out of the house and just add some variety to their learning experience. So those are the top 3 tips I have for you parents. And just to recap, the first tip is just having a set routine where, okay, these are school hours. These are the hours you're going to be logged in. This is the time you're taking a break. This is the time you're doing your lunch break as well. So have all that scheduled, and as much as possible, just have your teens adhere to that set schedule, because even though they may resist and maybe some pushback, it's really in their best interest to closely model what the actual school environment is and not get off track, because once this pandemic is under control and they have to go back to school, hey, they'll already be on that set schedule and they won't have to basically reacclimate to having a set schedule. And the tip 2 I have for you is just having that dedicated workplace for your teens to do all of their schoolwork and studying. And when you're identifying that workplace, try to make sure that you're removing as many distractions as possible, because our brains are not meant for multitasking. It's best to just focus on one thing at a time. So that means no TV, no phone, no music, none of those distractions, just like you would have those distractions in a physical classroom. You want to make sure in that recreated classroom in your home study area is free of those same distractions. And that's really going to aid in the learning process. The third tip I have for you parents is to schedule field trips. Try to really expose your teens to just things that they probably wouldn't be exposed to in a classroom, but take advantage of, hey, not being in a classroom now, they have more flexibility to go out to museums and go to these different, whether it's corporate offices, things that they are reading about, learning about in class. Now, as a parent, you can actually take them firsthand to see what it really is that they're studying in their books. So being able to touch and feel and just see in firsthand versus just reading in the book, I think that has a much stronger impact on promoting their learning. Well, that's all I have for you today. I just want to make this episode short and sweet, but really hopefully give you some good tips to make this experience as enjoyable and beneficial as possible. Again, virtual learning is a challenge, takes a lot of discipline, but incorporating these 3 tips will certainly aid in ensuring that your teens are maximizing this experience and still promote that learning that they need to advance to the next level. Well, I appreciate you listening. And next week, I'll be back with another guest mentor to share their expertise on raising teens to be successful adults.
You've been listening to Mentor Select. Mentor Select. Parenting teens to be successful adults. Hosted by Darrich Phillips. Raising teenagers is hard. Understatement of the century. We get it. That's why Darrich interviews leading experts that work with teens, educators, counselors, mentors, and authors to give you practical tips, strategies, and resources that you can incorporate immediately to better connect and understand your teen. That's why we do the show. Be sure to share Mentor Select with other parents of teens. Follow us on social media at Mentor Select to stay up to date on the latest tips, strategies, and resources for parenting teens. Send your questions and comments to darrich@mentorselect.com. Tune in every Wednesday for new episodes. Till next time, this is Mentor Select.